Edinburgh is perhaps the only city where the stars come out not only at night but also during the day, and particularly during August, during the Edinburgh Fringe. It's a nice, cool, clear morning here in the city of the Edinburgh Fringe, and I'm talking about those stars. What do they mean? And particularly for those of you who might be new to the Fringe, this is going to be quite revealing, I think. And for those of you who've been here before, it might be a refresh. And also the star ratings have changed a little bit over the years at the Edinburgh Fringe. Just giving you my morning view of Arthur's Seat. Yeah, the stars, when I came to the Edinburgh Fringe quite a long time ago, were different in that there hadn't been the star inflation that there's been in recent years. A 3-star review back in the late 1990s, and I'm sure way before, was a really good review. People put them on their posters. I remember 3 stars on posters with a quote, and that's pretty much gone now. You'll struggle to walk around the Edinburgh Fringe and see 3 stars on a poster. So it's all become about 4 and 5 stars, which is a bit silly really. But so the first thing to point out is that a 5-star review is still the highest rating in pretty much all star rating systems from the media, from reviewers. And so if you get a 5-star review, you rush to get it on your posters. But I bumped into someone yesterday who was telling me that a friend of theirs who has a show on was getting a bit downhearted because they got a 5-star review and felt pretty pleased, and told all their friends who had shows, and they're all saying they'd all had 5-star ratings too. Now you might be aghast at that if you're hoping for any sort of review, but that is word out there on the street at the moment, that just the sheer increase in review websites particularly, and social media accounts. Sometimes it's just an individual doing reviewing, and that's absolutely fine, but it just means there's a vast number of people reviewing at the Fringe, often with reviews in the title of their website. And so even more so perhaps this year, I'm walking around and seeing 5 stars on almost every poster in some areas. And so obviously that means that stars mean less in terms of guiding audiences to go and see shows, because they're looking for shows that have had good reviews. They're walking along and just seeing 5 stars on every poster. And I've mentioned before, in case you're wondering what the noise is, someone's cutting the grass here. Oh, there we go. And so everyone's got 5 stars from somebody. And it's a bit like, as I've said before, a mobile phone contract where you've got tiny small print and the special offer is written large. And here I'm noticing people are very clever. It's perhaps what we've all learned to do, that you put your stars really big, and if it just happens to be from some obscure blog, or perhaps even a friend's blog, that's tiny and people are not going to go up and squint and look at that mostly. So the 5 stars becomes all important, and I think we just get star blindness in the end. We just don't really look at them, can't really see what they mean, and so 5 stars doesn't mean as much. I guess what does mean as much is if you've got 5 stars from a newspaper and people have heard the name or a website, and 5 stars with the Scotsman also written big can still mean something. And I wonder what you think. Do you think that 5 stars from just about anybody means something at the Fringe? Is it still a token that it's the best rating? Or people are putting them all over the place, and I wonder. And so then we get the same conversation I had with this person, wondering if 4 stars has become better than 5 stars, that it's somehow a little bit exotic to get 4 stars, that somehow 4 stars feels more authentic or is more real. Well, what I've noticed, and I'm doing a bit of research in this at the moment, is as I walk along, I'm also seeing a lot more 4-star reviews in some areas than 5 stars, and I'd suggest that's one of the phenomena at this year's Fringe, that there are actually, you might be noticing 5 stars everywhere, but I think there are more than 4. And I did one little exercise walking along an area where there were a lot of posters, and pretty much every show that had just 1 review on it had 4 stars. And so 4 stars in the world of only 4 and 5 might just suggest that this show's interesting, that it's not perfect, that it's got a way to go creatively, but it's still well worth seeing because it's high up in the star ratings, and that you might feel happier. Isn't that weird, getting 4 stars more than 5? So I would suggest what you do if you've had a 4-star review and something really interesting's been said about your show, that it has a lot of promise, that it's worth checking out, that there's something unique going on that hasn't quite yet reached peak, that might be a more interesting show than blah 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 5, blah 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 5. Of course, if you get a 5-star review, it doesn't mean you won't necessarily put it on your posters, but it might be interesting to feature the 4-star review with a really specific quote. Now, the thing about quotes is people don't tend to lean into whole paragraphs, but if you can find, for those of you that don't know, it's a pull quote. You'll pull it from your review and stick it on a poster, or of course on your flyers, or on your website, or on your social media. That an exciting experiment in physical theatre might be more interesting than blah 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 perfect, groundbreaking, amazing, which is of course the word that's everywhere. Amazing work might not be as good as something a bit more nuanced, detailed and specific, because of course we can patronise our audiences, and I don't think we should. I think they're intelligent and they're looking for work, and work isn't cheap anymore. And so the situation there is that they might be more interested in a good 4-star review, which is still very high quality and is saying something specific about the originality, say, and the ambition that may not have completely paid off. So then we come to, what do you do if you get 4 and 5-star reviews? That's my suggestion. And it may well be that as you put several of your star ratings, if you've been lucky enough to get reviews, you might stick the 5-star actually further down your poster or your flyer, and you might put the 4-star with the pull quote much higher up, or even just the quote and the name of the reviewer or the publication. And so if you've got a review in the stage, it may well be that it's good to put a quote and the stage rather than stars everywhere. You'll also notice that going into the Fringe, people have got star from all of their earlier reviews, and it almost just is a kind of thing going into a Fringe that might be useful, but I'm not quite sure if that's got the same power as it used to have, because everyone's got stars from everybody. So then we come to the moment of 3-star reviews, or even less, and people aren't putting stars at that low rating. But of course what you might be able to find is a quote and the publication, and don't worry about the stars, which is what most people do. And so when I talk to reviewers, talk to the press, talk to audiences, a lot of them are interested in going to see a show, and a 3-star show can still be a very good show and might be even more creative and ambitious than the 4s and the 5s. So though you might not put the 3-star, finding that pull quote that says something really specific about the experiment that you've tried to do, the ambition that was in the piece, what was good about it, and it could well be in a 3-star review. The performances are 5-star, but somebody said they thought it was a bit too long, or the script didn't quite come across, or it was a bit inconsistent, but you can still find that quote that's going to be useful. And I think you can even find that in 2-star and 1-star reviews as well. So don't dismiss them. Look for the positive pull quotes, and if there's one thing to do in a group, it's to read the review out loud and take note on even a word or a phrase that might be something you can stick onto your flyers and your posters. And certainly when I talk to people who are down and dejected because they've had a 3 or a 2-star review, and I ask the question that they haven't seen, which is there anything good in it? And I can nearly always find something that's quotable to go on their poster. Just one of the tricks sometimes people do is they've had a 5-star, 4-star review and a 1-star review, is they put them all on the poster or the social media, because the 1-star review can look ridiculous alongside a review that might come from a more prominent publication. So don't be downhearted, but it is a bit weird what's going on at the Fringe at the moment, and certainly I'm interested to see when you get reviews if your 4-star review is actually a bit better and a bit more quotable than your 5-star review. Have a brilliant day. I'm still up here in the hills. Bye for now.